Welcome, everybody. This is the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate it. We have a show that we know you have all been looking forward to because we talk about this a lot lately. But we have Sara Kelly with us this week. She's with Seasoned Brand, 10 Seafood, 10 Fish, and we're going to talk about pairing tinned fish and beer. Sara, thanks for hanging with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure thing. Awesome. So we are going to get right to it, y'all. If you're watching the live stream, if you have any questions, comments about beer, fish, Brian's beard, or his shirt selection, anything, feel free to drop it in the chat there. We'll try and get to as much of it as we can. Let us know what beer you're drinking. And you know what? If you just happen to be eating a 10 along with your beer, let us know. We really want to know that there. So,
yes.
We're just going to spread the good word of 10 Fish here. But with that said, let me get down here to get our intro going, and we're going to jump right into the podcast. So here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are happy to be here, and we are, as always, happy to have you with us, getting together, share a beer, have some conversation, maybe learn some new things as we do sometimes. It's going to be a lot of fun. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing great, Tim. And we've got with us Sara Kelly, the marketing manager for Seasoned Brand. We're going to talk about tinned fish and beer and other things, but a lot of tinned fish and beer, Tim. That is what's going to happen.
We are definitely. And you know what? Producer extraordinaire Mo Mike Nate is hanging out there. Nate, you had to step up last week, didn't you?
I did. It was a lot of fun. It was a little on the spot, but I think we managed to create a good, well-listened show.
We did all right.
Yeah, from producer to co-host, it's a big jump. It's a lot of responsibility, Nate.
It is.
So, Sara, how the heck are you today?
I am good. Happy Wednesday to all of you, and thank you so much again for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here. We've been I think we're newbies, Sara, fairly much to this. Now, I would say in childhood, I think everybody's had tuna. No one gets squeamish at a can of tuna. It's some tuna salad and that. And my dad really liked kippers. He ate kippers a lot. So as a kid, we always had kippers in the house. So I enjoyed those. And in my teens, for some reason, I got into smoked oysters. But that's it. That was my 10 seafood. Except for like mom's salmon patties. That was my 10 seafood, and probably till year or so ago. So, we're new in this. We've jumped on the bandwagon of the trend. So we're looking forward to chatting with you and, learning more about that, learning about pairing some beer in tins and the types of tins and really just educating folks on 10 seafood there. But before we roll into that, let's get to our beers of the week and talk about, since we're doing a little different structure this week. Brian, what are you sipping on this week?
Yeah, so my pregame was a Sweetwater American Lager, and shout out to Sweetwater. They sent us a nice care package full of fun beers, and I had a can of that in there, and I thought that would be a great way to start things off. It seemed like the kind of beer that I would open up if I were eating some tinned fish. So I had that. Cool. It was nice and refreshing. I am currently working on an Anchor Steam beer, my last one of them in a bottle. It's based on the.
For now,
as a result, For now,
more on that later.
Yeah, we got some news about that. There's a reason for me drinking that this week, and later on, I may get into a Fairhope Brewing Willie Mays Haze, a hazy IPA I picked up in Fairhope, Alabama when I was down there. So that's what I've got going on, Tim. How about you?
So I picked out something specifically for our fish show, something that I think would pair really nice with a nice charcuterie board here. I'm going to say this name wrong because I don't speak the freaky deaky Dutch, but it's Brasserie de Blauges. It's Blaugies, but that's a collaboration with Hill Farmstead Brewery out of Vermont, and this is called La Vermontoise. And Sara, appropriately, the style on this one is a saison. So I've got a saison here to pair with season, 10 fish and that. And this is really nice. Well, I was a little scared, Brian. I was a little scared because the description says substantial bitterness and it's dry and subtle lemony finish. I don't get substantial bitterness. And with me, that's totally all right. So Sara, do you have a frosty beverage this evening?
I do. So I'm actually right now I'm drinking Magnify Brewing's, their main event, New England style IPA. But a saison is perfect. And honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the closest between saison and season. You
Yep.
would think I would get it, but having you say it right now, I mean, how obvious is that, right?
I have a lot of things like that. Like you see it mentioned or something, and it just doesn't click until one time, somebody says it, and you're like, oh, right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
good stuff. Nate, what you sipping on?
So I'm actually going dry this month. I know it's a shock to you guys because didn't give you any warning. So I'm drinking ginger beer. I know it's
Okay.
non-alcoholic, but it's got beer in the title, and so it's got to fit in.
Dry January here, right?
Is there a seafood that would pair well with a ginger beer? Because that never even crossed my mind. Like ginger seems like it might with something.
I would absolutely think so. I mean, if you think about sushi, you have ginger on the side.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that could totally pair well with, I would say, probably just the bread and butter for us, our skinless and boneless sardines.
There you go.
Yeah, that's and honestly, I think probably just about any. Like you said, you go with ginger. Ginger's a palate cleanser, so you're just gonna have a fresh palate every. So there now, we're gonna tell you, Sarah, we're gonna expose Nate right now. Nate has never and will never eat a tin of fish.
Correct.
So that's not going to happen. He's a picky eater, and fish are not on the menu. But Brian and I usually eat enough to make up for it, though, so we'll be okay.
Awesome. And you know what? We always say it's not for everyone, but I feel like at least if you try fish, it's not for you. But for a lot of people, they just need to try it. They have this conception in their mind. Is it smelly? Is it stinky? Is it a fish in the can with the bones and the tails? But just try it because you might like it. But of course, there are people out there who don't. My husband is one of them. So I totally understand. No worries there.
Yeah. So Sarah, for those on the live stream, you can probably see it. Is that your stash behind you there on the shelf? Is that a bunch of tins?
It is. And to be honest with you, I would have loved to have cleaned it up before I hopped on this podcast.
No, I think it's great there. Yeah.
It's pretty fitting. So, we do a lot of product research, market research, a lot of testing. Actually, just yesterday, we met with another supplier for some other types of tin fish that we don't currently sell. So I have a lot of samples. It's kind of I have a mini warehouse in my house, but I always have a stock on hand and it keeps it fun.
Good stuff.
I think is recognize a few of those boxes.
Tinvy? Maybe we should coin that phrase.
Tinvy.
Having that there.
Yeah.
So Sarah, I tell you what, we're gonna, as beer guys, of course, we have some people. We've actually had a few of our listeners that have reached out and said, "All right, guys, you got me. I picked up some tins at the store today. I'm checking them out." But if someone is just getting ready to explore, and there is stigma, especially in the US with tins, so if you say sardines, you see TV shows, cartoons, whatever, they're the poor, the broke, the dejected are the ones eating sardines. But if you're just coming to sardines, how are you going to sell someone to try some sardines or some tin fish?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, for us, our number one selling SKU is our skinless and boneless sardines and olive oil. And what people don't realize is it's actually a beautiful fillet of fish. Again, no skin, no bones. It's very mild. It's really like tuna, but better. That's what kind of like we like to say. And the great thing about the skinless and boneless sardines and olive oil is that it has 4 times more omegas than tuna. We love tuna, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have something that's a little bit healthier. It has 22 grams of protein per serving. It's very, very low in mercury and other contaminants because it's such a small fish versus tuna is a larger fish. So, it's just a great addition. And there's so many different ways to prepare it. So instead of making a tuna salad sandwich, you actually could make a sardine salad sandwich. For me, what I like to do, I actually put sardines on my salads. I have that for lunch a lot. You can have them on top of crackers. When you get home from work and you're tired and you're hungry, you want to crack open a beer and you just want to have like a nice quick protein hit, just crack open a can of sardines and it's a great way to try it. So
I actually had a tin of your boneless, skinless sardines and olive oil with a salad for lunch today, paired with some roasted garlic Triscuits, and it made for a fantastic lunch. Now, so sometimes I put mine on the salad. With this one, I took some Tabasco green hot sauce, dashed it into the tin, and just ate it as kind of a side to my salad there. But great meal. Get my omega-3s. You got to do it. It's a great way to do that. So
Absolutely. And it's shelf stable, so it's a great pantry item to just load up and have in your cupboard. You don't have to worry about preparing, you don't have to worry about refrigerating. They last for about 4 years. So we do a lot of really great business on Amazon. People will buy them by the case and just, keep them in their pantries for when they need them.
So I was going to talk about this later, but since you mentioned that they last for about 4 years. I have seen on various discussion forums vintage sardines, and going back, and there's a very popular website for purchasing Tomatoes Garden. I'm sure you're familiar with them, with the sardine world, but they sell some vintage tins, and I got some 2017 and 2018. They were French, and tried those. And I'm going to say, and in beer, we sell our beers as well. There's certain beers, especially like these saisons and that we can put them back. But I tried the 2017 and the 2018, and I got to say, 2017, I think it went too far, Sarah. I don't think they were as good as the 2018s. But so, because technically speaking, a sealed tin of fish, unless it's punctured, damaged, or something, you could technically safely eat that 20 years from now, correct?
Yeah, yeah, you can eat it for quite a long time. For us, of course, we have to put the best by dates,
Right.
just for safety reasons. But typically, I would say, really, it's best to enjoy a can of sardines after the first maybe like 2 or 3 years, because it has time to actually marinate, especially when it's in that olive oil. It really tastes delicious, versus when you have one right off the production line.
Yeah.
So
But maybe
with
2017 is a little bit too far back.
so the
It was
big
good.
attraction,
Good.
the big attraction to the vintage tin, I've never had one myself, is that it's the marination, the marriage of flavors. Is that really what it is, or does the fish itself kind of soften or change in some way flavor wise? Anybody who's had one, I don't know.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think really it's just the fact that it's marinating in that oil for so long. It takes on a little bit of a different flavor. And it's the novelty aspect too, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I can just tell you from my own experience, Brian, that it did feel like the oil was more penetrated through the entire fish. Like the fish was richer. It wasn't mushy, but it was soft. And the flavor of both the oil and the fish were just very cohesive. So they were nice. I encourage you, Brian. I know you like vintage beers. So jump out there and get you some vintage tins and see what's up.
I may have to look into that. I have noticed that opening some tins, and a lot of times I'll eat them directly from the tin, especially if it's something new and I want to see what it actually tastes like on its own. I'll notice that the ones on the top, if you have those, they might be a little on the drier side. You're like, oh, this is a little dry. The thing is the oil isn't covering the very, very top part. It's hitting the tin, so you're not getting that. But I would imagine with time it would get into that because of the proximity and the absorption and that sort of thing. So if you dunk them again, I've noticed, like this is a lot better if you coat it in the oil inside of it and then eat it. So that makes sense to me. I could definitely see that. And depending on everything else in the tin, the oil plus the other possible spices that they sometimes put in the tins, that could be really, really impressive over time. I
Yeah.
can
Good
imagine.
stuff. So, Sarah, we've seen a lot of descriptors for sardines, and I'll expand on this, but my question in essence is, what are sardines? And then we've seen like pilchard, sprat, bristling, all this. I've seen some that
Yep.
you'll look at the ingredients on the tin and it says contains herring, so it sounds like there's a bit of a broad definition on exactly what a sardine is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really kind of depends on which part of the world the fish is coming from. So all sardines are smaller fish. As you mentioned, you can have a pilchard sardine, you can have bristling, you can have sprats. The pilchard is coming from more of the Moroccan area. We source our fish from the North Atlantic Ocean in Morocco. Could be from Spain, could be from Portugal, kind of in that neck of the woods. The bristling sardine is more of a cold water fish. So that's coming from up north. So for us, we source our bristlings from Latvia. Sprats are very similar. They're a little bit smaller typically. And with bristling, they can be packed in different ways. Like, for example, we have bristlings that are packed 2 layers in the can, 1 layer, a beautiful cross pack, just depending on the size of the fillets themselves. So it really just kind of depends, I would say, where they're coming from. But there's over 50 types of sardines. So there's actually a
Okay.
lot,
Yeah.
and they're kind of lumped into one big category.
I had no idea. I thought sardine was a single type of fish that just happened to be everywhere. So in reality, you're just when you get sardines, you need to look at the region they're coming from, and that'll tell you what kind of fish you're getting. Not just the terroir of the fish, but the actual species of the fish. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, we actually on the back of all of our packaging, we list where we're sourcing the fish from and what species of fish it is, just for fish education. Because again, a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, I tell you, it's something I'm big about. Anytime I get into something, Sarah, I nerd out way more than I should. And I guarantee we've got people that listen to this as a beer show and they're like, are these guys really talking about tins of fish again? Yes. Yes, we are. But we're going to get beer here in just a second. So it's something and you know what? This is something that's good. You can grab a tin, you can get a beer and kick back. And on that note, Sarah, let's talk a little bit. Let's say I'm going out and I got a basic tin of sardines and I'm going to crack them open. And let's say I don't have anything. I got some saltine crackers. So I've got a tin of sardines and some saltine crackers. What beer is going to pair well with that?
So the saison, like you said, would be great. I actually really like a cream ale or any sort of citrusy pale ale. So anything that's really going to cut that oiliness from the fish would be great. You want something light. You want something that is going to just pair nicely and not overpower the palate. I would say also a Pilsner or a Belgian wheat would be nice. Those are just some preliminary suggestions. But for me, I'm actually, like I said, drinking an IPA. I had some sardines before, and I find that to be really great as well. It's nice and citrusy and light, so it's good for summer.
Yeah, I think we're pretty I would say that probably for most fish, maybe some smoked. Maybe if you had something to kind of heavily smoked, like a kipper or something, you could go with like a robust porter or a brown ale. But I would say
Yep.
in general, if you're just talking basic sardines, those probably wouldn't pair well. But you do have a broad range, like we talked about the saisons. I think that's going to be, a great pairing there. A pale ale, a pilsner. I think there's some versatility there, a little breadth in what you can do with that. So, and you know what? I think if I had a tin of oysters, that I could definitely break out a nice porter or something to pair with that. And I think
Definitely.
that would
Yeah.
go really nicely
Absolutely.
together there.
Absolutely.
So,
That's one fish that we don't have currently, but
all
now
right.
that you
Well,
mentioned it, you've given us
see,
ideas.
yeah, see, I
Oyster
heard you,
stouts, man. That's
I
a
heard you
thing.
talk. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned when we were talking that you were talking to some companies about carrying some other items that you don't. Anything you can share with us at what the future is looking like for season?
Yeah, so I can't share anything specific right now just because it's too soon, but I
Sure.
would say, for us, we're really looking to branch out as a canned fish company. We've been in business for over 100 years. We actually started in the Northeast in 1921. So, we're doing really well. We're the number one premium skinless and boneless sardine product on the market nationally. So, we carry the sardines, mackerel, anchovies, kippers. We have a vegan caviar, but as you mentioned, oysters, mussels, trout, those are all things that we don't currently carry. And we're just really looking to expand our portfolio to see what makes sense as a complementary item for us.
Good stuff. Sarah, I doubled down. I was doing my homework today. I've been eating season 10 since, yeah, and thank you. We got a sampler from you there with some great tins in it, but I had caviar for breakfast this morning. So
Did you?
yes, I toasted up a bagel and some cream cheese and I made some French style scrambled eggs and, paired it up there. I enjoy, it was, you know what? It was fun. I'm going to say it was fun. And I will say the one thing, if you try this and you know caviar, it doesn't quite have the same pop as like the actual caviar eggs do. But the brininess there, it went. Brian wants to say something. Just a second, Brian. He's trying, but went very nice on a toasted bagel with cream cheese, and it went very nice with my scrambled eggs as well. So it made for a pretty nice breakfast.
That's awesome to hear.
So the product is caviar. I looked into that. What is caviar? You mentioned it's vegan, and well, caviar I know is not vegan technically. So what
Yes.
is caviar?
So they're actually made out of black seaweed pearls. It's a proprietary process. The seaweed that makes up these pearls is grown in France and it's harvested in Denmark and produced there. It was actually invented by a chef. And for us, we actually sourced a traditional caviar product prior a few years ago, and the fish actually dried up. We weren't able to source it any longer. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
why we were
Okay.
looking for an alternative. And this product has been doing so well for us. As we all know, the vegan and plant-based consumer base is growing really heavily. So we've been able to sell this product into Walmart. It's sold national across the country. It's on Amazon. But it's just a really great shelf-stable alternative to traditional caviar, and it's completely sustainable. There's no cruelty involved. And I think, Tim, to your point, it doesn't quite have that pop, but it still gives you that brininess. And I
It
think it's a
does. Yeah.
nice way to introduce people into caviar because it's a little bit less scary than having fish eggs.
Yeah. And I saw some people comment on it that they said that, they said they were vegan or they had vegan friends. And they're like, look, I can do an hors d'oeuvre party and I can make something that my vegan friends can eat. Not only is it vegan safe, but they think it's cool because it's, something different. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
I can have caviar here. So, pretty cool. Like I said, it's not exactly fish eggs, but you have the brininess, you have the, the small pearls. That's just the texture to me of caviar is nice. So it was fun. I had a good time. I had a good time hanging out with caviar there. It's good
awesome.
stuff, Brian. It's good stuff. But
I'll have to try it out. That's
yeah, you
intriguing
have
to
to
me.
check it out. So we were talking about another one. This is one of my favorite. What's your favorite 10, Sarah? What's your go-to?
So it's funny that you asked that question because Brian, I saw you holding up a can of the grilled mackerel, and I was just going to comment. That's my absolute favorite. I love it. So for me, I actually wasn't a tin fish eater prior to coming to this company. And
Mhm.
I was like a lot of people out there that said, sardines, I've had tuna. I love tuna. I like seafood, but I'm not quite sure. So the grilled mackerel was actually great because it has that grilled flavor to it. So it kind of is a great way to like introduce yourself into different types of tin fish. I call it the gateway fish. And it's very meaty. It's just like tuna. It's mild. And so I started eating the grilled mackerel, and then slowly but surely I ventured onto sardines with the skinless and boneless, then the bone in. So that was actually my first favorite product of season, and it's still my favorite today.
They're very approachable. That's the one thing when I was just starting with the tin fish after a long period of not having hardly any seafood at all, really. The mackerel was a nice place to start because it is so mild, it is meaty, and tuna fish
Yeah,
sandwich, it could be a mackerel sandwich. It's perfectly for that. And as I've gone along, I think I prefer sardines with skin and bones and the little extra funk that gives. I'm like, I want my fish to be a little on the funky side, but the mackerel is a really safe, easy, convenient place
yeah.
to start. Non-offensive. I think you could get by with it in the place of like a chicken and chicken salad or anything else where you would make it. I think people would not be repelled by it. So, even probably the most squeamish of folks,
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
I always recommend mackerel and kippers as good gateway. Like, hey, if you like tuna, if you like fish in general, and you're not ready to jump into a whole fish, grab you some filet mackerel, grab you some kippers. Check that out. So,
Absolutely.
Sarah, I don't know exactly how or why it happened, and to be honest, I guess it happening is the reason that I got more interested in it. But tin fish is trendy now. It's TikTok trendy. And that's weird, Sarah. That's weird that tin fish is TikTok trendy. But I was looking at your social media today, and there was a nice recipe on there where she made a nice salad. She made a sauce with some garlic and things, and she heated her tin a little bit in the pan with some lemon and made just this really nice plate. But it's trendy now. Why? Why? Do you have any idea where the source is here?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of this goes back to the pandemic when people were looking for, protein sources to stock up on. And, TikTok obviously really exploded around that time. Girl dinner exploded around that time. So I think it was just a combination of
Yeah.
all those factors and people sharing, different recipes of shelf stable proteins. And tin fish just really took off. I know there's Chef Allie Hook. She started Tin Fish Date Night, and she shares a bunch of charcuterie boards that she has with her husband. And she features a lot of types of sardines, mackerel, all that good stuff. So I think people are curious about it because I think, to your point, people wouldn't expect tin fish to be so popular.
Right.
And even for me, I was kind of like, wow, it's great for us, but you just wouldn't expect it. So I think it's just been a lot of buzz and a lot of people realizing the health benefits as well. Because prior, people would say again, ew, sardines, I don't know, is it smelly? Is it cold dead fish in a can? But then once you start explaining, well, you can have it, in a recipe, in a charcuterie board. It has tons of omegas. It has tons of protein. If you eat one can, like that can, Brian, that you held up, you will be full, honestly. So I think TikTok is just a great way to spread the word and just get more information.
Now, I know some of it's the oil that's in there, but it's 4.375 ounces, so that's the size of a like a small cut of steak, basically. So it is substantial. When I eat these, I notice it very quickly. Other things you eat take a while to register. The tins register very quickly. Every now and then I'll get gluttonous and I'll eat two, and I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have had both of those, especially if you're eating anything else. But
I tell you what, one thing for me, honestly, is a convenience factor. That's a huge thing for me with this, that I can, like I said, you know what? Super lazy at lunch day. I was busy. I ordered a salad from Subway, and not a fan of Subway sandwiches, but they can actually throw a decent salad together with all those veggies they've got there. So I got a salad. I cracked a tin open. Boom. I've got lunch there. It's that simple. For dinner, I can, make some pasta and open up some razor clams, and I cook some noodles. I throw in some razor clams, butter, lemon, garlic, and throw some Parmesan in there, and I have a fancy pants pasta dish in the 10 minutes it takes me to cook noodles. So it's nice. I mean, it's nice, the convenience there. So bringing this back around, if someone wants to we've used charcuterie a couple times here, and of course that's a charcuterie board made with various tins in that. If you were bringing over some friends and you were planning to do like charcuterie and beer, and we'll say drinks as well, what would you put together, Sarah?
You mean from the whole board in general, or
Yeah,
from a
like
drink
what
perspective?
are some of the accoutrements that you like to throw into your charcuterie board?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, any types of like pickled vegetables would pair really nicely. Obviously, crackers, fresh bread, like a French bread cut up would be really great. I love having like Dijon mustard, just to spread on there as well. Harissa sauce pairs really nicely, or any sort of like sriracha, or like a Tabasco sauce if you wanted to add that with tinned fish. As I said before, from a drink standpoint, any type of Pilsner, Saison, Kolsch, an IPA or an American Pale Ale. From the wine standpoint, if you were going to go that route, I would say, again, any sort of like Pinot Grigio, something just light, a Moscato, especially for the summer. So I think there's a lot of different things you could do. Olives would be nice on the board. There's no set formula for it, but that's probably what I would think right off the bat.
Brian, I think one time at the studio, you and I were trying to be fancy. We cracked open some tins and a bottle of Prosecco with some aged Gouda one time. So, and that's, not our typical evening, but we threw our pinkies up and threw back that Prosecco, and that was really nice.
Yeah. Was that the time? That wasn't the time that we had the anchovies that turned out to be way entirely too much.
That was not. So Sarah, we're just exploring some of this, and I had seen some people talk about anchovies. We went to a nice place here called Star Provision. Shout out to them. Great little shop there, but we just grabbed a tin of anchovies. And Brian, I tell you what, you've had anchovies again recently. Those were a lot more intense back then than what we've had now, right?
Yeah.
There, I don't know what we got our hands on, but we literally took them out and threw them on a cracker, and it about knocked us out of our chair. It was, I don't know what we did, but like I really enjoy now getting a tin of a tin of the anchovy fillets, and I'll take some ciabatta and brush it with olive oil and actually some of the tin oil off the anchovies, and I toast that up really nice, and then I'll put on banana peppers, like pickled banana pepper rings, red onion, and then you only need a couple. Like you can have a big slice of ciabatta, but you're only going to need a couple anchovies. But that's stellar. I mean, that's gourmet stuff there.
And so easy. I mean,
easy.
You can't,
yeah.
How could you mess that up?
That's right.
But it's true. I think for anchovies, typically, especially for someone who's new to it, I would say you would want to try it in a recipe first. Like in a Caesar salad or on pizza, just to kind of cut that saltiness.
I
Yeah.
love anchovies, but I think sparing is the key. Like they're
Yep.
quickly too much of a good thing. And I can't think of anything that's quite that at that level. Like maybe just salt in general. Like I like salt, but like a handful of salt is too much salt. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. Like as a almost as a seasoning is the way I think of it. Or like
Hmm.
if it's soft enough, you can spread it across some bread and you got the butter and everything else to balance it out with. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me.
That's why when you get pizza with anchovies, like if you see it, it's one anchovy on a slice. It's not, that's it. That's all you need on there to totally, give you every bit of anchovy you need on that is just one little fillet is going to be plenty for you there. So,
Hey, you know what? Do you ever put hot sauce on your tins? Because I've gotten more into hot sauces as a result of tinned seafood, and I have opinions about various hot sauces now. Whereas I really didn't have much of an opinion before. I had a couple, and now I experiment a fair amount. Is that do you as well?
Yeah, so we actually do have an item that has Louisiana hot sauce. So it does really well for us. I believe we sell that in most Walmart stores. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's an acquired taste. It's either you love the hot sauce with it or you don't. But even if you were to purchase our sardines in water or in oil, you could always add the hot sauce to it and then add the amount that you like.
That makes sense.
easy
And I got
peasy, right?
Easy peasy.
And the one I recommend everybody who's trying tins out to try is green Tabasco is just an obvious easy one. I think it goes with most everything, but Frank's with dill Frank's with the dill pepper. What do you call it? It's that
It's
dill
pickle.
seasoning.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's like a
dill
dill
pickle
pickle
flavored
thing.
Franks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic on any kind of seafood. If it's boring, Frank's. If it's good, still Frank's is like it's amazing with that dill in it. Frank's by itself is good. Frank's with dill is just a whole nother level. So yeah, I'd
Another
recommend that.
level.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, one more question for you, then we'll get a little info where people can get more info. Um, Cooking in tins. That's something I've seen just recently. And one I saw was I forget what they call it. They called it like low rent oysters Rockefeller or something like that. But you put your pat of butters in there, you throw some onions, some garlic, and you throw it in a toaster oven and boom. So do you do any cooking in tins? Do you have any suggestions for things to try there?
Yeah, so I would say the pasta. I mean, I don't cook. I take everything out of the can, and I'll
Okay.
just, like you said, make the pasta, and I'll throw the sardines right on top. I haven't ventured too much into cooking in the tin, but that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I did try the podunk oysters Rockefeller, we'll call it there, and it was pretty good. Like so I cheat a little bit. Some of them just do the stuff in the tin. I put mine in a saucepan with a little bit of cream and butter and Parmesan and some spinach pieces. Then I put it back in the tin and topped it with breadcrumbs and butter, and then threw that in there. And it was it, man. 10 oysters Rockefeller, good to go. Rock and roll.
See, you're giving us more ideas and content for our website, so I love
I'm
it.
telling you, you know what? Brian and I, we give out a lot of terrible ideas free of charge,
Yes.
and every now and then we have one that's not bad. Like we may try, I may try and get the 10V hashtag started there. Oh, nice,
There you
nice
go.
collection you got there. I've got 10V
Hashtag
and stuff.
10V.
So yeah, yeah. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for hanging out with us, sharing some about tins. Like I said, we've enjoyed it. Anything else you want folks to know about tin seafood?
I would just say, like I said, give it a try and try skinless and boneless sardines in olive oil. Just if you love it, great. If you don't love it, at least you could say you tried it.
Right. Give it a shot,
Fair
Nate.
enough.
Give it a
She's
shot.
talking to you, Nate. So
Yeah.
No, I heard.
yeah, yeah.
We're good.
Well, Sarah Kelly is the marketing manager of Season Brand. Sarah, if folks want to find out more about Season Brand, where's going to be the best place for them to do that?
Yep. So they can go to www.seasonproducts.com, and you can always find us on Amazon. We have our whole portfolio listed on there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us and sharing. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Take care.
You bet. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Seasoned seafood tins. We hope that everybody hanging out here, all of our beer fans are not like, what is this? What have I gotten into?
We
What have I
mentioned
gotten
beer a
into?
few times in there.
We
so,
did, and the thing
yeah,
is, we drink beer, but that's not all we do, Brian. It's all you
yeah,
do mostly, but
pretty much. Yeah.
but things like that. But no, man, seriously, they're convenient, they're nutritious. There's some good variety there. You can do some stuff with it, so it's good. Yeah. So, yes, stuffing them in the can and roasting the can. We had a comment here that's basically like stuffing and then roasting in the can. Yeah, you can roast them right there in the tin. Pop the lid. Put you whatever toppings you want on your smoked. You could do fish too. I've only done the oysters so far with that, but
That sounds interesting.
you could take that and put you some butter, some diced garlic, top it with some breadcrumbs, throw that in the broiler, put some cheese on there. I think I've seen it where they, put some mozzarella or whatever, and then just bake the tin. And you can basically take crusty bread or crackers or whatever and scoop right out of the tin. It's
I
easy.
would try
No
that out.
dishes, no dishes to clean up if you do it that way.
All fishes, no dishes. That
All
could be the
fishes, no
motto.
dish. And Brian, and not having dishes to clean right now for you is probably a good thing, considering you're in the decrepit city of Atlanta, whose water
Ooh.
system is falling
That's
apart.
right. We've
Ooh.
got 100-year-old pipes that are just breaking
Yeah,
down, and the city, because they've never ever worked on the pipes, nobody that alive has probably ever done anything with them, has no idea how to fix it. So I don't know where we're at in terms of water right now, but the city, it 3 or 4 days. I don't
yeah,
remember when it started. Like, there's still areas where there's a boil water advisory and places that are completely without water at all. And you know, on the topic of seafood, if I ran a seafood restaurant in town, I would have a Peachtree Street catch of the day on my board as kind of a
that's
running
right. Got
gag
to do
for
it.
the entirety of this things, because it's seriously like flowing up out of like the drainage onto the road. It's flooding places out. It's ridiculous. It's
Are
the
you
water's
personally in the danger zone, Brian?
I am not. I'm within the city.
Okay,
I'm
all right,
outside of. I'm safely outside of the worst part of
okay,
it.
that's
Fortunately,
cool.
it's that's the one nice thing about Atlanta being so large. At least when things fail, and it's failing catastrophically in
It
town,
is really
it's
falling
limited
apart.
to only a certain area. So
So,
bad luck
but
for them.
and worst of all for us is it shut down some really nice beer bars and breweries and
Yes.
restaurants there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I know
actually
that.
not good for them, losing business for several days because the water definitely
It
is
it
not
is
a good
bad.
thing.
I know at least that I checked Wrecking Bar. I have to think that some of the other ones in that area, maybe the Porter, who just
Yeah.
recently reopened, are all probably having issues with that. This is terrible. Like, yeah, I can't even imagine. It's
Hey, you mind if I talk about beer for a minute? Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, I
okay,
think it's all
And
right.
sure.
so I want to talk about the beer I'm drinking. This La Vermontois. This is nice, man. I tell you what, I miss the days when these types of bottles were common. You just don't see these.
Mhm.
These aren't as cool as they once were. And what was the T-shirt the dude from Birds Fly South had? Saison's not dead or something like that. Something along
Yeah, I
those
think
lines.
Think
something
so.
that affects Saison
I
is not
forget.
dead.
And I believed in his shirt, but unfortunately, Birds Fly South did close.
Yeah.
And the Saisons, people just don't give them the love. But man, this is nice. I mean, it's got, good character to it, some funk. I do get that lemony finish. And again, I do not get a substantial bitterness that they're talking about. I think I may have a different definition or understanding of exactly what they mean when they talk bitterness. But man, this is nice. And this definitely would cheese plate, fruit tray, charcuterie, seacouterie board, whatever. This would go nice with some. Man, give me some big smoked oysters. Those e-cone smoked oysters, the real nice
Oh
ones.
yeah, those are
And
great.
get some of those. Put out some fish, maybe some mussels, which are nice there. Some a little
I think
pulp
so. Yeah.
O'Brien, which I know you're a fan
Ooh.
of there. So
Dipopo.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So it
octopus
would
for
make
people who don't habla español.
habla tinned fish.
Habla tin fish.
Yeah.
De pulpo. Yeah.
So that would go
Big
really
fan of
nice with
that.
that. Yeah.
I didn't expect to like octopus as much as I do.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing I've discovered about myself. It seems like a weird thing. Like it more than calamari, I've decided. So that's something.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the habits I get into are probably not good ones, Brian, but I do like my tinned fish habit here because again, I'm getting good protein, I'm getting omega 3s, the fish oils and all that it's a lot easier than, cooking up a piece of fish or something. I can crack a tin open and we didn't really talk about it much with season, but I love smoked trout too. That's another
Oh
one
yeah.
and that's one that if you want to turn it into a simple salad or a simple spread, it's just you know what, dump it in a bowl, put a pat of cream cheese in there, maybe a little bit of mayo, season it whatever way you like, and you got a smoked fish dip there instantly.
And I saw that Moda had mentioned that salt cod, and I've traveled to Spain, and
Yeah.
cod is wonderful out of a tin. Salt cod, like the appetizers and the stuff I had over there, is amazing. I'm like, I had no idea how good cod is. So shout out to cod. Cod is
Shout out
great.
to cod,
Yeah,
man. Shout
it's
out to
big
cod.
ups to
Good
cod.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Brian, you mentioned in your beers of the week that you were drinking an Anchor Steam, and we have followed this story a long time. Brian, we have an update. We have an answer to what is next for Anchor Brewing.
We finally do, and I'm just finishing my beer, and I can tell this is getting a little on the old side. This bottle, this last one I have, is from February, from Valentine's Day, February
Okay.
14th,
Yeah.
Valentine's Day of last year. So I can taste it. We definitely need a fresh supply. The good news is that on his LinkedIn page, the billionaire founder of Chobani, I think, is it Chobani or Kobani? I don't know.
I
Chobani.
think it's Chobani.
Chobani
pretty
yogurt.
Bonnie.
Hamdi Ulukaya, I think I said his name right, announced that he has purchased Anchor Brewing in its entirety, including the entire 2-acre property, the production facility, and the nearby tap room. In his announcement, he says he will honor Anchor's history and offers his commitment to its future, and he plans to rebuild the brand and resume operations. Unfortunately, we don't know a thing about the sale, really, but we do know that the real estate alone was valued at $40 million. We also don't know why it took so long for the sale to go through. According to news stories we saw earlier this year, we were supposed to know what Anchor's future was by the end of January. So this, to me, sounds like the best possible outcome for Anchor. We've got a new owner with the financial resources to get the brewery back on track and an appreciation for Anchor's value beyond just numbers on a spreadsheet. So I'm kind of happy, and I'm celebrating with my last Anchor here.
With your
So,
Anchor.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw his video I saw it on LinkedIn. I don't know where all he posted, but I saw his video where he was talking about buying it. And I mean, Brian, you know, with businessmen, you never know, is it lip service, but he seems sincere that he cared about the brand. You know,
It does, yeah.
he wasn't just trying to dump money into something to, you know, to get, you know, a cheap investment. It wasn't like buying Ballast Point for what the last company pay $75
This is
or
something like
something
that.
for
I think,
Ballast Point.
and a few lottery tickets and a pack of
Yeah,
smokes.
yeah, pack of
Yeah.
smokes, right.
According to
So-
what I read, he actually met with former employees of Anchor to talk about the brand and to get an
Okay.
idea of, and he has a particular appreciation for the history and the uniqueness of Anchor Steam, which is very good because that's probably the most important thing that could carry on. But also, I
Yeah.
want Anchor Christmas to show up again on shelves.
I do. You
miss
know,
that.
I believe, Brian. I believe
do.
that that's going to come back because just judging by what he was saying there, you know, how he felt about the brand and everything, I believe that we'll see Steam back. I don't know if it was someone, because I only saw a comment about this on the internet. I didn't see any official word, but a comment about him bringing back the old labeling, branding in that. So
Possible.
that's yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see here.
He does say that he's going to honor their history. So my
right.
assumption would be to go with the most historically accurate. So
Yeah.
the Sapporo sprucing up of the of Anchor is probably going to be jettisoned, and I'm happy about that.
Maybe
So,
you should have kept that bottle of Steam. Maybe that will become the one that's the rare and hard to find one now.
that's
So,
possible. Yeah, actually,
yeah.
come to think of it, it could be. Maybe I'll hang on to this
Yeah.
empty.
That's right. Hold on, man. Hold on. Brian, more talks of, I mean, there's mergers, there's acquisitions, there's sales. This seemed like rumors more than anything. And Sam Adams, basically they said they didn't comment on rumors or something like
Yeah.
that. But it sounds like Suntory is in talks to buy the Sam Adams Brewery.
Well, it sounds like that. It sounded like that to the a reputable paper like the Wall Street Journal, who did report that, or at least have a headline that they were in talks to buy Sam Adams. It turns out that seems to be a rumor from all parties involved. A Suntory representative told Brewbound, who I just got the story from, that there is no fact to the rumor that we are in negotiations with
Okay.
Boston
All right,
Beer. So
there you go.
Suntory not on board. Boston Beer said they won't talk about it, and they also say it's just rumors. That's why they're not going to talk about it. And apparently, Jim Cook repeated that to employees during an internal meeting that it was just rumors, and they're not going to talk about it. And yeah, this has happened a number of times over the years, I guess. And ultimately, any sale of the company is just going to be at the discretion of Jim Cook, who owns all of the voting shares for Boston Beer Company. And he has previously said he has no plans to retire, and his only succession plan is to, quote, not die. So that
There you
seems
go.
pretty firm that that's not going to happen.
Solid plan there.
So,
Solid
yeah,
plan, man.
yeah.
All right. There you know, I was wondering if you're like, we don't comment on rumors. I was like, well, if it's not true, why not just say it's not true? But I guess if you take the stance of we don't comment on rumors, then you can hold that stance if it's true or not true. You know, it doesn't change your stance there, and avoids any issues with that. So
it provides cover for if they did
It
even just float
Yeah.
the idea, even if it was over a beer
Yeah.
and unsanctioned. So my initial thought was, why don't you say no? But I'm like, yeah,
I hope 6 months from now he does a video, and the first thing he does is just grab the mics and go psych, and
yeah,
then says,
we're selling.
the Suntory. Yes, good
Yeah.
stuff. So, guys, we did some travel recently. Brian, I think you talked about yours a little bit last week. I was out, as you said, on assignment, which translates to sick as a dog, last week. So I was out, but I checked out a new brewery, and I went over and I had visited some family in Arkansas. And in the part of Arkansas that I travel to, there's really never been much of anything, to be honest with you. But this one, I did get over, and gosh, it figures I would forget. I believe it's called Native Brew Works. I'm trying to remember if it's Native Brew Systems or Native Brew Works. Native Brew Works in Jonesboro, Georgia. No,
Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Jonesboro,
There is
Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's it. There is a Jonesboro, Georgia as well. But anyhow, I went over there and checked that out. New place. It's interesting to see beer laws in play in different places because, very interestingly, they're in a dry county. But the laws that they have there, in order to be able to serve the beer, they have to serve food. So they have tacos, burgers, queso, things like that. And I just think it's so interesting because here just a few years ago, our brewers were fighting for the right to sell food. Over there, it's a requirement. You can't do that. Now, one thing I didn't get a chance to ask about, but going out both their front door and their back door on the patio said no alcohol beyond this line, even like on their patio. So I'm wondering if that's just the laws there. That's like, nope, you got to stay inside with it. You can go hang on the patio, but you can't take a beer with you there. So I didn't get any clarification on exactly what that meant. But not only is there a new brewery there, but they're good, man. I enjoyed them. So I tried their Kolsch, had a couple of their Kolsch's, and then I had their Dunkel, and that was really nice. So it's kind of cool there. That's I got family over in the area, so when I do travel over there now, at least there is one brewery to go check out. The tacos were pretty good. The queso they had was some of the best I've ever had. So
Nice.
that was nice. But yeah, so that was my adventures with my travels. Is I did get to check out a new brewery there over in Arkansas.
That sounds like a delightful oasis. How many pinball machines did they have? Tim?
0. But you know what?
Oh,
Hold on. I can't verify that, Brian. Where I was sitting, I looked through a doorway and there were a couple ping pong tables back there. And I was like, oh, they got ping pong tables. But I did not go to see if there was any pinball or anything there. So, so I can't speak to the Schrodinger's pinball at Native Brew Works.
They both do and don't have pinball, depending on when and if you look. We could probably have Mike Nate look at pinball map and find out.
See if they've got something there. But yeah, really like I don't want to say the name wrong. It's Modahead or Modahead here. He said he's looking at the image and it looks really nice. It's super clean, really well done, really comfortable place. We were moving furniture and all that stuff, and it was hot there, and I wasn't feeling well. And they were air conditioned. They had tacos and they had beer, and that's really all you can ask for in life sometimes. So,
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah. So shout out to Native Brew Works over in Jonesboro. It was a good time.
Exactly. I love that there's a Jonesboro, Georgia. It's crazy how often cities are reused from one state to another. Like, I went to school in fact, we've talked to some breweries from the same town, but the same city, which I thought was unusual, the name. I found one in Tennessee. I'm like, how did that happen? I'm like, it's wild. Anyway, yeah, I just thought
It's
I'm amused
crazy.
by these
There's like a
things.
Philadelphia, Mississippi. There's a
Mhm.
there's a Utah, Alabama. They spell it differently, but it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And so we have a Houston County in Georgia, spelled like Houston, but they pronounce it Houston. So who's wrong, Texas or South Georgia? Or I think it's Middle Georgia, actually.
I think I'm gonna go with Houston on Houston. Yeah, I'm going with Houston on this.
All right.
Maybe that's just they've got the advantage having been the one that's better known. Basically, people you know are aware of that more
Yeah.
broadly than Houston County. But I guess there's is there a Houston Street in New York City?
No
Am
one
I?
knows. There's
I
really no way to find
I don't
out.
know. I don't think it's called Houston. There might be something anyway,
Is
like
it
Soho.
Houston up there too?
It might be.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not from New York. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
making stuff up right now.
All right. All right. Brian, another thing I saw on the beer front that man, I just don't chase these like I used to, and they keep coming out with them. And this one sounds good, but did you see the new KBS variant that's releasing?
Oh, is it a chocolate espresso or something like that?
Chocolate
Yeah.
espresso. That sounds pretty nice for a KBS variant, but
And I think it had it in what I read, I believe it had vanilla in it as well, which I think would be if you're gonna mix chocolate and espresso, those big kind of could be bitter flavors, having a little something like vanilla involved to take some of the edge off would be kind of a welcome addition. So yeah,
yeah.
it sounds good to me. If I see it, there's a good chance I'll pick it up. It's there's KBS is great. I mean, it's good across the board. Some of the adjunct variants they've had have been a little on the sweet side, but for whatever reason, Founders has always like kind of erred on the sweet side when it came to their stouts. Like they take it just a little further than
Take
they
it
need to.
take it
Yeah,
back just a notch, just a skosh, just a
just
skosh
a
there.
touch, and I think that's just kind of a taste preference that they have. That's that I don't necessarily share, but
Yeah. Yeah. I like them sweet in small doses, like we've talked a lot about like the Southern Tier stouts. I mean, those are teeth crackers. They're so sweet. And
Mhm.
and I dig them,
yeah,
but it's a small pour kind of thing. It's the give me a 4-ounce pour. Even 8 ounces with some of those is a little too much. So
yeah. The what was the one? There was I can't think of it, but I know there was also some oh, French toast. There's a French toast,
yeah,
old
yeah,
bastard or
yeah.
whatever the heck it was called. That was super sweet. They also had a blueberry indulgence or something like that. They had a couple of them, or the Lizard
Blizzard
of
of
Cause.
Cause.
That was one
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
them. That was like, man, that was tough. Like that you could put that on pancakes by itself and it would work. That was how intense it was. So
Madness.
yeah.
Madness. Y'all, you know what? We do need to wrap up here, but the format was a little different, but we absolutely positively cannot leave with giving a shout out to our sponsors here. So I want to thank Terrapin Brewery Atlanta for sponsoring the Beer Guys radio show. Hot summer days called for cold beer and baseball, and y'all, they've got you covered there. Truist Park, Atlanta. Go see them. They're always putting new stuff on. And something really cool, if you do go to a Braves game, you can get a beer from Terrapin from inside the stadium, and they're going to be cheaper than a lot of those beer kiosks that you go to, and they're going to have a better variety. So check them out. If you want to have a set down, have a good time, they've got Fox Brothers barbecue there, so you can get you some barbecue, get you a beer, set in the AC, get out of the heat, have a good time. Thank you very much to Terrapin Brewery Atlanta for sponsoring Beer Guys Radio.
And since we talked a lot about seafood this week and beer, seafood, I got to point out because of their food truck rotation, Truck and Tap frequently has the combination of beer and seafood, specifically things like lobster rolls and seared tuna and even sushi. They've got a food truck that comes around that'll do sushi for you. So if you're into that, you want to try some beers, definitely swing by. Check out their website though, truckandtap.com, to see when their food truck schedule is. It is posted there, so you can make that all happen. You know what? We've talked about a lot of really good beers that would go with it, but if you're looking for a few recommendations, I'll give you a few quick. I went lighter with most of mine. At Woodstock, I'd go with their Yahoo Gerst Amber, which is a pre-prohibition recipe that's clean and malty. I think that would go well with a lot of different fish, and not be too offensive. At Duluth, I'm going to go with the Moody Tongue Czech Pilsner. It's on a side pull, so that's going to be great with any fish. Alpharetta location, I'm going to go with the Three Taverns Pilsen Liberation, a classic Czech Pilsner that's a collaboration with Pilsner Urquell. And finally, at Truck and Tap Lawrenceville, I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to go big with Bold Monk's The Way, a Belgian gold strong ale. Golden strong ale, strong golden ale. I don't know. Wait, whatever that is.
One of those.
I don't know if it's going to be too much for your lobster roll, but there's only one way to find out. Get it and try it, or just get a taster of it. You don't even have to order the whole thing. But again, make sure you check out what's going on at truckandtap.com for the full scoop. And thank you once again to Truck and Tap for your support.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Y'all, we thank you for hanging out with us this week. Really appreciate it. Go out there, get you good beer. Try some tinned seafood. We promise not to stuff it down your throats every week. Well, maybe a little bit, but not like this week. But check it out. See what you think. Let us know what you think. Try some pairings and see what's going on. But whatever you do, we hope that you have a good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So following up on some of the things that we were talking about, the closest pinball to Jonesboro, Arkansas is Memphis, Tennessee. There is a Houston Street in New York. It's East Houston Street or West Houston Street.
Or
But I did
Houston,
confirm
right?
that that was also
I think it's
the,
Houston, and Soho
or
is
it's
south of
Houston, I'm
Houston.
sorry.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that Asahi Dry would be fine with sushi, but I think any of the pilsners that I mentioned, Motorhead would be great with sushi, or almost any seafood, really. You know,
I don't remember what it was, but there's a Korean beer that where did I go? I went to some Korean restaurant, and they were doing like it wasn't Korean barbecue, or maybe it was Korean barbecue, but a lot of them, they do small glasses. Like you'll get, I guess it's close to like a 20-ounce bottle of beer, 16, maybe a liter. But then they give you a glass, it's maybe a 4-ounce glass. And I guess that's common. Like I've seen things for I think it was like Japanese. There's a series on Netflix where they talk about it's set in this all-night Japanese restaurant bar, but like all of them there, they get a bottle of beer and then a little glass. And they drink small glasses of it. But that's what this joint did. So, and I'm like, this is kind of nice, man. Sitting here grubbing, pour you a little glass of beer, drink it, top it off, drink it, top it off. I used to like going to Indian food and getting was it Haywood's or Hayward's?
I think it's
Hayward's 5,000.
Hayward's 5,000,
and
yeah.
Kingfisher were the two that we saw around a lot. That's really good with Indian food. And Brian and I went out to a Spanish tapas and paella bar.
Yes.
Last weekend, and they had, was it Brahma? Was that the name of it?
Brahma Cop or something like that?
But it was a Brazilian macro lager. And y'all, I can't hate on the macro lagers sometimes. Occasionally, you're eating some spicy seafood, you're eating paella or something like that. It goes just fine with it, man. It's not a bad pairing with that. So
it was,
you know what?
perfect
Have
with the
your
paella.
asahi or whatever. Have your sushi and your asahi. Get your Kingfisher and your curry. Have your Brahma changa bonga and your paella, and just enjoy, man. Just enjoy. Grab you Narragansett and some tinned seafood, man.
I saw it, but I didn't think to bring it up. But Peroni is moving their production. I think their U.S. production to Georgia. So if you happen to be a local guy, get you a Peroni and some of this stuff, because
Peroni's now a local beer.
It's
Peroni and pizza,
local beer.
So,
yes,
yeah.
Miller
Good
Coors
stuff.
is doing that one. Yeah. Anyway,
nice. Well, y'all, we are going to cut the stream right now, and we hope that y'all have a good week. We'll be back next week. Yeah, we're back next week. We don't have any events, so we'll see you next Wednesday. Next Wednesday at 7. Y'all have a good one.